One of the biggest debates in motoring at the minute seems to be old or new, which is best? Is the driver involvement more important than modern luxuries, or are we losing too much character from the supercars of yesteryear? In this new series of videos, we're going to try and find out. We're back with a couple of cars from SCD member Pete's collection, which boasts Ferrari models spanning 6 decades. And we're going to kick it off with one of his oldest and his newest models going head to head. Both of these cars have plenty in common, and based on new prices for the Lusso and current values of the 330, are both worth about the same. Let's keep with the modern day and drive the Lusso first.
The GTC4 Lusso is of course Ferrari's latest practical V12 car. It's got 4 seats, it's got a decent sized boot, it's even got a trick 4-wheel drive system so you could use it all year round, but it's also got 690 brake horsepower and it'll top out at 208 miles per hour. But a lot of people these days keep talking about how modern supercars are removing that driver element and the enjoyment that you get out of driving these sort of cars. So, let's turn the clocks back to 1966. So back in the 60s, if you wanted a 4-seater Ferrari GT car, you'd have to buy one of these, a Ferrari 330 GT 2+2. I've got to say, it is a thing of beauty, absolute beauty. This is a 1966 Series 2 330 GT, which means it went back to just twin headlights rather than the quad headlights of the Series 1. In fact, the entire shape of this car very closely resembles a Ferrari 275 GTS, both at the front and rear, which, I mean, they go for several £1,000,000 now, and it's a really rare car because of how beautiful it is. Now, when you get into these older Ferraris from the 60s, you always sort of expect everything's going to be rather heavy. But you know what? Jumped into this. It's a cold autumn morning. Everything was light. Everything felt easy. The clutch is so light. The steering, again, you've got this lovely big steering wheel, which is the wheel that you just got in all Ferraris back in the 60s. It's the same wheel you even get on a 250 GTO. It's such a lovely thing. Obviously, you still have the usual issue of a classic Ferrari manual gearbox where you just don't bother with second. I've been driving it about 45 minutes now and it's still not up to temperature. So you just get used to going first to third. Much like the GTC4 Lusso, this was also the height of technology. You could have optional air conditioning, power steering, it has electric windows, and it was a quick car for its day. These have about 300 brake horsepower, which I'm starting to use right now as we just overtake something, and you're still good for about 150 miles per hour in a 4-seater from 1966. The roads are a bit greasy today and it's slightly nerve-wracking driving something like this. You don't get any traction control systems or anything like that. You're just driving by the feeling that you get through your arse. It's so well balanced. This is supposed to be a big practical family car. Now these are the sort of cars that Enzo Ferrari himself favoured over the smaller racers like the 250 short wheelbase. In fact, Enzo Ferrari actually had one of these cars as his daily. He just didn't really get the smaller things. He obviously loved his racing, but he always wanted something nice and practical and big and spacey. And why not? It's not as if it's any less of a car. Our values on these are bound to just continue to rise, just purely based on how pretty they are. Being the later car, of course, means that it comes with the 5-speed box rather than the 4-speed with an overdrive. So you can sit and just cruise away, but it's a lovely little gearbox, perfectly ratioed, any hills, it doesn't really feel them. Something that's really impressive about this is the brakes. Now, you get Eagle doing up your E-Type so that they actually brake properly. This is on its original brakes, and now usually when you're driving classic cars, like the DB5 of Pete's that I drove a while back, they had been uprated with DB4 GT brakes. I've obviously driven the Eagle Speedster, which again is an E-Type, but one of the things that they had to do was sort out the brakes. They just don't need any work. It's a twin circuit Dunlop system and the discs all round. Now that is something that wasn't really done very much back in the 60s. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. The 330 GT is actually becoming quite a rare thing as well. A lot of these cars were very sadly chopped up and used as donor cars for people who wanted a 250 GTO recreation, which is such a sad thing to know that there could have been more of these cars around. But just like the modern counterpart, the Lusso, you could use this on a really nice long trip. It's comfortable, it's got a decent sized boot. So for the money you start wondering, what would you actually go for? I mean, the Lusso makes so much sense, and you know that you can definitely trust it. It's a brand new car, and Ferrari really do know how to build their cars properly these days. So, this or the Lusso? Well, I mean, the benefit is that you're not going to lose money on a 330 GT. But could you use it as much? Well, yes you could. You could still go touring in your 330 GT. It feels a good solid car, and it's very comfortable, it's very spacey, and it's really, really practical. You could clock up some serious miles in this thing and not know about it, just like you could in its modern day counterpart. It's a tough one. If you're not going to use it very much and you want something to look at, it is a work of art, let's face it. So back in the modern day, and the GTC4 Lusso is, well, the thing is it's just so damn good. Alright, that 330 is a beautiful car, and you get that driver enjoyment, but if you're really wanting a car to use every day and for it to do absolutely everything, this is about as good as it can possibly get. I mean, Pete, who owns both of these cars, uses this car every day. It's filthy, to be honest, because it's just a daily driver, and it's the middle of autumn, so it's gonna be. But when you want to drive out in the countryside, even the double clutch gearbox has a lot of feel to it, and the noise that you can still get from that V12 is very entertaining. So okay, it's a Ferrari that you can use every day, But with modern technology, that's not really very difficult. The best thing is though, you can take it to the Alps and have the time of your life. I've just done our Tour de Alps in a GTC4 Lusso, and I was actually amazed at how well it handled. You've got all that power, but as you're coming out at the tight hairpins on an alpine pass, the four-wheel drive system really helps you out. And you can really use it all. You know, in some ways, this is almost slightly better than the 812, because that's just a little bit leery. This, you really can just use all 690 brake horsepower. It's a tough one, this. I fell in love with the Lusso on the Alps trip, and I've fallen in love with the 330 GT this morning. And the thing is today, a well-spec'd Lusso costs about the same as what you would also be paying for a 1966 right-hand drive 330 GT 2+2. That's a bad decision. I don't know. I really don't know. The thing is, the GTC4 Lusso is probably just one of the best cars ever. I mean, what else could you possibly want from a car? It does everything that you possibly want it to. It sounds amazing. It's fast, it's practical, and it's a Ferrari.
Both of these cars are impressive in their own way. You cannot deny that the Lusso is the perfect car for pretty much everything that you throw at it. The sheer usability, yet the ability to still rearrange your face, makes it an engineering marvel that could crush continents with ease. But the 330 stole my heart. From every angle, it's a work of art. It's so involving yet easy to drive. Its characteristics mean the more you drive it, the more you just love it. And that steering wheel is synonymous with so many great Ferraris of that era. And with regards where you put your money, you can't deny it's the safer choice. Which would you choose? Let us know in the comments below and why you'd make that decision. And don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.